All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of No Bull with Noble. This is episode 11. If you were listening last week, I do, again, apologize for the whole mic situation, but we figured it out. We got some extra mics today as backups just in case. But anyway, today we got another special guest. We got Roee Dunkelman. Roee, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
For those who know or don't know Roee, he started a business making erotic cutting boards for charcuterie, and so I guess I don't want to say too much, but you can sort of explain and talk about the business.
Yeah, we'll get into it. Thanks for having me. Noble with Noble. It's a hell of a name. Yeah. I know that was Kenny's contribution.
It was Kenny, yeah.
Such a good name.
Such a Kenny
Perfect.
thing.
So yeah, that's got his mark on it. Yeah. Yes, they are like erotic cheese boards, more specifically dick-shaped charcuterie boards. That's pretty much the elevator pitch. That's kind of what it is. But that's what I've been up to for the last 16 months. It's been 16 months total, 14 months full time, if you want to kind of put it like that. But it's funny you mention erotic because that was a name I was considering for the brand, and it would be instead of the T, it would be a D. So it'd be a raw dick. Cheese,
oh, that's actually smart.
Which was good, but the only thing is I thought people would look at it and be arrow dick, or I don't know if they could put two and two, and I was flirting with other names, but landing on Cockuterie I like the name obviously, but it is a little on the nose kind of thing. It's you really are
you have to you're specific in one thing, yeah. Well,
it's also just you're telling people what it is, which does work out because just given the how obscure the product is, it's nice that you walk them there and you really tell them what it is. But yeah, it's funny you mentioned erotic because that's certainly a name I was flirting with. But that's what do you want to know?
Would you have put the K at the end
for erotic?
A raw dick, or would it just be
yeah. I think it would have been great, honestly, looking back on it. But then you kind of paint yourself in a box because now we do boobs and I mean still the same problem because Cockuterie is again, you're putting kind of a putting it into a box. But I'm flirting with a couple different ideas if I'm really thinking about product expansion, but we'll have to see.
That's good. Well, you can always just keep the same name and then have it expand into more, right? So I guess you you thought about this when you first started.
I did. I was actually forewarned. I was speaking to a buddy, and he's if you really if you do think you're gonna eventually branch into other products, then maybe doing an umbrella name, and then have instead of the company being Cockuterie Boards, that would just be the SKU name,
right?
Which works, which I think also has merit. But I thought Naughty Wood would be a good one, but then again then I have to do just wood stuff. So but I don't think it has to be taken that seriously. But we're flirting with some stuff.
I think it's smart. No, I think it's a great name.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's to the point. It's forward. People understand it.
Yeah, exactly.
And when you hear it, you know exactly what the product is, which it could be good or bad because sometimes people are what is that? I want to be more invested. But at the same time, when you have the name, when you have the idea in the name, people know they're okay, this is something that I could get behind.
Yeah, exactly. You just walk them there, and then there's a lot of even in the name, there's still that head tilt moment where people are you can see them not get it, and then you can see when they put two and two because I do a bunch of shows, markets, pop-ups, and I have these two 8-foot banners, and those collapsible banners that people have obviously all that type of stuff, but I'd have two of them. One of them is just three boards stacked, a picture of three boards stacked on top of each other with different spreads, and then the other one is just as big a dick I can make on this thing, and it's literally 6 feet tall, and then just this Cockuterie boards, and then they're looking at it, they're looking at my table that has all the stuff on it, and they can't quite get it, and then they look up at me, and I just point them in the direction of that huge banner, that 6 with the 6 foot dick, and they're oh,
now they get it.
Now they get it.
That's
I'm
smart.
You couldn't get it
good,
from
though.
This whole fucking display. Are we cursing on this thing?
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
You can swear if you want.
Yeah. So
I mean, it's in the name, right? Otherwise we'd have to
Yeah.
probably blank out cock every single time.
That's
you
true.
say it,
That's
right?
true.
So-
Yeah. So yeah, even in my attempt to handhold people, to telling them what the brand is all about, sometimes you gotta push them a little more. But it's all good.
That's good.
As
That's
long as
smart.
they get there.
They're gonna get
They're
there.
gonna get there.
They're gonna get
Yeah.
there. That's good. So yeah, so how did you start? Because obviously, both of us were sort of similar and the same, not really sure what to do during the pandemic. And then
Yeah.
I guess you came up with the idea and went from there. Yeah, how
Yeah,
did you
and
start?
off we went. So I would credit it to have you heard of Clearbank? Clearco?
I don't think so.
They're going through some turmoil right now because they're like one of those like Toronto tech companies that are kind of feeling the brunt like a lot of the tech companies right now. But I started there it was my first job after school, which was like prime pandemic. And the idea of the company is non-dilutive growth capital for direct-to-consumer brands. So, and I was like responsible for trying to give companies money. And so I was like talking to founders of these direct-to-consumer companies like day in, day out. And I was like listening to their struggles and like why they need this money and how they plan on using it. And that was like my first exposure into like the other side of what it's like to be like a company owner, a brand owner. And I was like, I don't know. I don't think these people are. I mean, obviously, like they've done something right, but like just listening on the other end of the phone, I was like, I don't know if these people are like all that impressive. Like, it seems like something I could probably do, and I think that was like what really kind of tipped the scale. And then I wasn't like, oh, I could do this now. I need a product. I was just like, it was that coupled with this idea came to me randomly one day. Truthfully, I was in a Whole Foods. And I just saw a display of regular charcuterie boards. And I was like, these are nice, but they'd be a whole lot funnier in the shape of a dick. And that was like my immediate thought. Like the Jonah Hill syndrome. Like mine's always thinking about dicks. Yeah.
Like this.
Yeah. It's actually, that's what I put on my About Us. Because like it's not fictitious. Like that is literally what happened. I was in a Whole Foods, saw boards. I'm like, there's one thing missing. And then that was the idea. That was like the genesis of the idea.
Yeah, because that was my question: was why dicks?
I don't know, like why not?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think it's hilarious.
I just like there's no reason. I know people always ask me expecting some sort of like glamorous like aha moment, but it was like literally just came to me. So anyways, my immediate thought was like, that's like maybe funny, but like probably dumb, and like probably exists, and like probably dumb, and like whatever. This just like came to me, and it was like out of my system. Like just as it came in. And then I don't know, I found myself coming back to the idea like days later. I'm like, I don't know, like maybe I could be there with like bachelorette parties and kind of things like that. And then I'm like, I bet this exists, and it did. So there's this company called Dick Cheese Boards. Don't love the name for obvious reasons.
The name, no.
Yeah. Yeah, us circumcised folk, we didn't have to deal with that, but and I was like looking at their social media, and like it was just kind of bland, and they weren't like leaning into it the way that like I thought I would lean into it. Like, should this be like my company or my brand or what have you?
Was it Canadian or was it American?
I think they're in the States.
Okay.
Yeah.
I still think the Dick Cheese boards.
Terrible. Like I don't understand. I hope it's like at least
so bad.
ironic. I hope it's
so
at least
bad.
ironic and not like, oh, this is funny. You know what I mean? Or like, this is smart. Anyway, so I was like, I don't know. These guys are like, I could probably do better. Yeah. And I'm like, this is like, and it's also just like there was like, aside from them, there's like pretty. It's a very low competition market.
It's a very small
there's
niche.
them, and then there's like a couple of like people that do this like custom on like Etsy, like those types of marketplaces. But like, this is as no competition as it gets, right? So it's like, all right, like I could probably do better. And then I think what like really pushed me over the edge was like it was just COVID, like you mentioned, like I was going stir crazy, just like I needed to shake things up. And it wasn't even like I was like determined to start a business. I was just like, these are funny, they should exist, and I should have a hand in that. And those were like my kind of like my three main things. Like I wasn't thinking about like starting a business, like getting money to start the business, spinning up a website. It wasn't that. It was just like those three things that I mentioned. That was like enough for me to at least like take the plunge on like, all right, let's see like how far we could actually get with this thing. So then I just like Started reaching out to manufacturers. I reached out to like maybe 75 local manufacturers, just in like GTA kind of stuff. A lot of, like, I didn't hear back from most of them. The ones I did hear back from were like, nah. And then like the other percentage of the ones I did hear back from were like probably too expensive, or there was some reason not to pursue with them. But I ended up getting referred to who became my initial manufacturer in Kingston. And I got on a call with him, and he was like, no, I get it. I see it. Like, I'd be happy to help. Gave me, like, the prices. And, like, the two options that he gave me at first were, it was either, like, he can make me a fully finished board, so, like, ready to sell. So, sanded, oiled, like, food treated with food safe oil, all that stuff. Or he gives me, like, just the raw version, and I would have to absorb some labor and then, like, you know, get it out that way. And I thought, like, you know, I was just getting this off the ground. I had the time. Who knows if this is going to exist into the next batch, right? Into the next order. And so, like, my thought process was, like, I'll keep costs down and I'll absorb as much labor as possible. Like, I'm pretty decent with my hands. So I was like, I'm sure I could figure it out. And so, you know, we did 50 boards. My dad gave me, like, the $2,000 for that. And then, you know, I took my time. I sanded them. I oiled them. I got like a tabletop laser engraver, and that like really, I don't know if it changed the business, but it's a great aspect of the product offering, because like offer customizations on these boards.
Yeah, people love the customization.
People love it. Like, it's not even like a couple here and there. I'd say it's like 40%.
Yeah, because it's more personalized. People want to see their name on something, right? Because it feels more true, especially if it's a gift.
Yes.
Right? Because you can just go to the store, right? Pick up a random, like you said, just like a cutting board, and give it to them as a gift. And it's like, okay, whatever, you got me a nice cutting board. Or even if you see, you know, like the dick shape one, like you could just go in the store and whatever. There's probably a row of 10 of them. But if you add the customization aspect of it, where people can put their actual name, you know, first name, last name, whatever kind of funny message, I'm sure it's so much better.
It changes it. It actually changes it. Yeah. So, yeah, like I learned how to fiddle around with that and like slap a logo on it and whatever. And so, yeah, I had 50, and then like I was just very fortunate to have like a pretty successful pre-launch campaign. Like, I was just like frantically DMing everyone I could, be like, hey, it was a classic copy and paste message. It was like, hey, like, little known fact, I've been kind of working at something for the last like 8 months. I'm launching next week. We really appreciate the support, like just sharing, tagging, whatever. And like not to my surprise, is like I think lowly of people, but just like I was like very moved with how many people actually like stood behind me in pumping this thing.
I'm pretty sure you sent it to me too. I'm pretty sure I shared it as well. Just that first launch, because you know, obviously you want to support your friends' businesses. You know, it's and having that friend group or the people around you, like you said, to support you is the biggest thing.
Yeah, no, it was like I was like really like I was really surprised like how many, like there's obviously expectations around like your close circle. You're like, you'd at least hope that the support was there, which it was, but even like into the fringes of different social circles, where like I met this person once, we somehow follow each other. Like, I was sending it to everyone. I had no filter on this thing. And like so many, like it's essentially you couldn't go through people's stories without seeing it. Like, that was a moment where I was like, wow, this is pretty sick. And then like my first ever post, I think got like 1,000 comments or something.
Wow.
Which was like
on Instagram or TikTok or
yeah, so it was on Instagram. Let me scroll all the way down here. But yeah, like it was like, it just got like over 1,000 comments. Like, there was so much engagement, and people really, really liked it, and I was just like really blown away. And yeah, so the launch was like, I posted like a few pieces of content every day for like a week, and then opened the store. So it was September 15th, 2021. So like the week before, I was posting every day, and then like the site was like not like inaccessible, and then like September 15th at midnight, I like turned the site on, and I think it was like 12 minutes later I got my first sale through Shopify. And it was funny. Shopify is a wicked good chime, like a cha-ching sound effect when you get a sale, and I had no idea, because I hadn't
Yeah,
I haven't
obviously, it
had
was
my
your
first
first
one.
one, yeah.
And I was just like chilling. Like I flipped the site live, and I'm just like, it was like midnight, so I was like getting ready for bed or whatever, and it just came out of nowhere. And I was so fired up, and I was like a kid on Christmas. Like I barged into my parents' room. And I was like, "I'm a fucking sale! I got my fucking first sale."
Oh, I'm sure it was so
And
exciting.
they're like, "Shut up!" Like it was like one of those. But yeah, like right now it's sitting at 1,800 comments.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and that was like my first post. Like it was pretty cool to see. Yeah, so like started with 50, and then like those 50 moved in like a month, and then I went up to 100, and then those 100 moved, and then 200, and I kept doubling, and then yeah.
50 in a month is pretty good. That's more than one a day.
Yeah,
That's
no,
crazy.
it was pretty interesting, especially because like this was all organic. It was all organic growth, all organic traffic. Actually, the entire first year of sales, like the first 12 months, like I didn't put a dollar into ad spend. So it was like all just relying on like my social media following that I was like, you know, actively building both on Instagram and TikTok. TikTok was like the primary mover. Instagram was like, you're obviously going to have an Instagram as like your home base, but like TikTok was I mean, it still is, but like, especially then it was like all the rage. And, yeah, like TikTok, and it was funny because like I was also like, it was a baby at that point, right? It was like, I mean, even still now, 16 months is not like a ton of time, but like then we're talking about the first like 4-6 months of the business. I have a lot of time to put towards like these TikToks. So like I was like much more active on TikTok. Now like I've been stretched so thin on other aspects of the like really like businessifying it, right? Because like the first kind of 8 months, 12 months before it was like more substantial than it was now. It was like, you know, I'd make a couple TikToks, I'd get a couple sales, I'd fulfill those orders. Like one TikTok would go off, there would be more sales, but it was like still like that. And now it's like much more steady where like my time and efforts are being pulled in like the wrong directions, which is largely like because I'm still really involved in the manufacturing. Like I'm still sanding these things, I'm still oiling these things, I'm still engraving it. I actually like I live right by Westmount, so I recruited like a fleet of like 4 high school kids that come over and help me oil these things because like I couldn't keep up. And so the next big steps, which I'm trying to do like Q1, Q2, is outsource manufacturing and then outsource fulfillment so that I could just like focus on growth.
Right.
Because I've just been pulled in like all the wrong directions and it's like stifling the growth of the business.
Yeah, because like we've spoken about, I've spoken about this in the podcast too. Is like any business, most business, even back to real estate, you start with something. You start with that base, building your social media, whatever, and then you get super busy, and it's like a roller coaster, right? It goes up, right? You do super well. You do your TikToks, boom, your business goes up here, and once it gets up here, you start to, you know, plateau.
Yeah.
And the reason you're plateauing is because these things like social media that you were doing before on a constant basis, you're not doing anymore.
No.
Right? So you got to, I guess, find the balance to go back to here's what got me to the peak, and I need to go back to my roots, start doing those basic things again, and that's what's going to bring me back to bring my sales up. But it's, you know, like you said, finding that time to do all of that is probably so difficult because, you know, you have a huge social media following. So how did you start? Because, you know, every business starts at 0 followers, and you've grown to, you know, what, like 16,000 on Instagram, and you probably have what, a couple hundred of thousands on TikTok.
It's not a couple 100,000. It's been so tough on like TikTok's been. It's so frustrating because there's some people that I mean, like, all to their credit for sure. Like, there's way more than meets the eye always in these things, but like, there's kind of like this fallacy around like it's easy. It is easier to accumulate followers on TikTok, but I think as of recent, it's been more difficult. Like I've just noticed myself, like my growth rate on TikTok has certainly plateaued. I think a little bit because of output, but a little bit because like the algorithm's always changing, and there's like, you know, thousands, tens of thousands of new accounts, new creators a day, millions of pieces of content a day. Like it's just like the saturation is so out of control right now that's really, really difficult to get seen. But yeah, I have like 40,000 on TikTok and like 16.5 on Instagram, which like, look, like I'm obviously proud of. I mean, if like TikTok or social media was like 90% of my focus, then I would hope to expand on those numbers, which is what I'm trying to get back to. But yeah,
40,000 is a lot though.
yeah, it's solid.
That, like,
it for sure. It's like in isolation, a ton of people.
Yeah,
a ton of people.
You know, it's like you go to the Rogers Center for a Blue Jays game,
Yeah.
for like a normal Blue Jays, and it's basically the same amount of people.
Yeah.
And if you think about it in that standpoint, even 100 followers, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of people.
You get 100 people in a room and you talk to 100 people, that's a lot.
It's a ton.
But 40,000, I guess it's harder too because you don't know where the niche is coming from, right? If these are people around the world, but I guess you ship worldwide.
Yeah, so we do ship worldwide. We've had a couple interesting. We've got South Korea, actually. We had one there. We got Singapore, a bunch to Australia, New Zealand. I got one to Hawaii, or like maybe two to Hawaii. I've done like the Yukon, and like pretty much every U.S. state and Canadian province, territory kind of thing.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, some interesting locations. We did Italy. There was also another one. I think I did Paris. Yeah, during Q4 there was a lot of interesting locations. But yeah, like in a vacuum, and like not to appear ungrateful, like 40,000 followers is a fuck ton of people, no doubt. In reference to like how other businesses' TikTok accounts stack up, you know, I'm not much to write home about, but you know, we're trying.
Yeah.
Let's go. We got a long road ahead.
The whole point is that you're trying. Right?
Yeah, for sure. And like, you know, it's not, it goes in tandem with like, you know, the content output has died off as of recent, as I mentioned, like, and just in light of being pulled in all of these different directions. Like Q4 was just wild. And reason being is there was a video that I put out that was like, so also like TikTok is had to come up on trends, right? Like it was all based on trends, which was nice because it kind of informs the type of content you should be making and can be making, which is great because like, you know, that's the whole difficulty, right? It's like coming up with these ideas, right? And like because it's so niche, I can't necessarily do all the trends, or like if I'm gonna do an original idea, like how diverse could I really go with something like this?
Exactly.
So TikTok's great because like it just tells you what type of stuff to do. But I think like TikTok as a whole is kind of segueing away from that. So now you have to like really tap into your creativity. But also say is that like I'll still jump on like a trend that I think is like worth participating in, because as cliche as this is, you really just never know. Like I remember I did a video, like it was a 2021 year in review. It was December 31st at like 3 p.m. I was like, oh fuck, like I fully forgot to do this trend. Let me jump on it. I spent like 2 hours like cutting together this video. And it was just like a montage, you know, like quick cuts. And I just like picked like my 15 favorite clips, like half a second each, and just like cut it to the music. Didn't think a thing of it. It could have gotten like 1,500 views, and I would be like, yeah, I understand why. It got like 2.2 million.
That's crazy.
And I was just like, what the fuck? Like,
it's such a weird, it's weird.
Insane. It's so insane. And like, and then so I did the same thing this year, which was instead of like the 2021 year in review, it's like my first year in business year in review. Okay. And it was like it was a song coming out that was like a review type song. And
is it like here's your 2022?
No, so I did do that one, and that one tanked. Okay. That one tanked. Anyways, so I put it out, and on TikTok it did like decent. I think it was like, I think now it's at 60,000, but at first it was like 40,000 or whatever. And I was like, yeah, I'm like pretty happy with that. And then, you know, obviously like everything. Well, I haven't, but I'm trying to be more conscious that every TikTok I post, I then will upload it to Reels.
Yeah.
And so I uploaded it to Reels, and again, it also did like 40-ish thousand. And then like a few weeks later, it like climbed to 80, and I was like, I'm down. Like I like that.
This is like weeks after.
Yeah, it's like weeks after, and then the following like 3 weeks after it hit 80, it went up like 200K views a day for like for like week after week after week or something like that, and then it got hit like 600,000, and then like plateaued, and then like 1 million, then it plateaued, and then like 1.5, and it plateaued, and then like in all of those spikes, like the sales are rolling in, and eventually it peaked out at like 3 million, and it was like it peaked out like right before Black Friday, so I think like people anticipated there to be some sort of Black Friday deal or sale, and they like back pocketed it until Black Friday hit, and like I got snowed on Black Friday.
That's great.
Yeah, it was insane. It's just like the stars aligned so well. Like, yeah, I'm running ads and stuff like very minimally, but it's no secret that all of that traffic came from that one video.
Of course, yeah.
And then that's kind of spilled into Christmas, and like there was just so much hype surrounding the website and the brand. And what's interesting is too, it's not like I got like so many people to the site that did like conversion rate was or website traffic, like sales were high relative to website traffic, meaning that like people came to the site with intent to buy. It wasn't like people saw it and then jumped off.
Yeah, like they'll go on for 2 minutes, they'll make a sale.
Yeah, but like sometimes you'll get like, like I'm trying to think of what would make sense. Let's say, I don't even really know these numbers, but let's say like, like 1,000 people come onto the site, and then you'll get like 15 purchases, okay. But it was like 100 people would come onto the site, but almost all of them would buy, right? Like, so the intent was so high. And then, that just like cleared me, like pretty much cleared out the inventory, and then I had to scramble. And like, I was fulfilling orders like straight for like 5 weeks, and didn't put out like a single piece of content from like Cyber Monday all the way to like Christmas, which is like a month. Yeah, it's like a month straight of just fulfilling. Like I was in my basement literally 14 hours a day, just like packing these things up, getting them out the door. Which is amazing. It was like an unbelievable moment, like a really high like inflection moment for the business. Like, wow, look at what it's kind of become. But like the flip side of that obviously is like, imagine I had these systems in place that could fulfill these orders, and then I could like double, triple, quadruple down on this virality, right?
And yeah, work on your business, but also still be making money selling these boards too, right?
Yeah, like I had this one video that I was relying on, but imagine like I had those 14 hours to just like, double down on that video, make other content, like all that other stuff. So it was like one of those like bittersweet moments. Definitely sweet moment. Yeah. But like, it just makes you realize you're like, I'm just getting pulled in all the wrong directions. So once Q4 wrapped, now we're like in the beginning Q1, Q2. Like now I'm trying to like really bake out the process, so that I could just like focus on those like true growth initiatives.
Yeah, because I'm sure it's really difficult for you because you run this business by yourself. You're the only person running this business. So how do you do it? How do you cope with that? Because I'm sure, you have the highs and the lows of like, I'm really busy. Maybe I need somebody, but then you have the other times where it's like, maybe I don't need someone because you're on a downtime. Like, how do you deal with, I guess, running a business by yourself?
Yeah, it's tough. I know like we started talking about this before a little bit, but the most difficult part is not from like, I mean, it is certainly from an operation perspective because like you only have 2 hands and you only have 24 hours in the day, and it's all of that is very true and real. But I think mostly it's just like the psychological warfare of it. Like it's very isolating. You're by yourself, just trying to make sense of like your next step. And yeah, it's very difficult. Like, it's my first go at it, no business experience to lean on to, rely on anything like that. Luckily, like I have sort of recruited some good like friends and like mentors and people like relatively in my network, to lean on, to help with some of those like key business decisions. But, even aside from the business decisions, it's just like the stimulation of speaking and engaging with someone. Like like I'll have a call with someone. It's not like a life or death call, like, hey, like we have these 3 ad agencies we're talking about, like let's make a move on one. It's more just like talking for the sake of talking and engaging with people, because like, we're not solitary people, we're not solitary beings, right? Like meant to be in company. And so that is for sure the most difficult part. But like I said, like I got put in touch with like a consultant who's like more of a mentor type figure, and like we have bi-weekly calls, and it's just so good to just like share with, just have that sense of othership. Like
it's almost like a therapist, but
it's actually like therapy.
Yeah.
It's so nice. Like just having the opportunity to like blow smoke, vent. Like for sure he advises me on like actual business things, but a lot of it is just like the human aspect of just engaging with someone, and just like having, again, that sense of othership. So like I've recruited like a few people in my corner, but yes, like the day-to-day is certainly mostly independent and isolating, and it definitely wears on you.
Yeah, because I'm sure when you started, you had no idea what to do because you've never started a business before. You're taking that leap. You're going like, hey, I want to do this. This is a business I want to do, and I'm sure there's a point where you're like, I'm 100% in. This is what I'm going to do. Mm-hmm. And then how did you sort of figure out how to run a business? Because there are a lot of people out there who are listening who may want to start their own business and don't have the courage to step up and do it. So what would you say is
advice?
Some advice? Yeah,
my sound advice. Yeah. So I would say truthfully, it's nothing new. It is as simple as just starting. It really is. Like it's the same with like pretty much anything else. Like you hear like all these like, like the Gary Vee mantra of like just start. And I mean, mind you, I'm sure that wasn't his adoption either, but like everyone kind of credits like most of the shit these days to Gary Vee. But yeah, it is just starting. Like it's really as simple as that. I wish I had more to say, but it is literally just starting, because the sooner you start, like the sooner you refine, right? And then I think a lot of people too, like myself included, like it's the impatience is what gets to them. Like they kind of have this expectation of like getting it right off the hop, which won't happen. So as long as you have, and a lot of it's mindset too, like as long as you're self-aware that, or like, just aware at all that, this thing is going to be a grind. It's a long road ahead, and things are going to hit the fan. But like, of course you will have the moments worth celebrating and the moments that make everything worth it. That's very true as well. But yeah, it's literally just starting, because the sooner you refine, like the sooner you start, the sooner you refine, and everyone's just like constantly trying to refine. Like I made like a very like LinkedIn type post like after my 1 year, just noting like some milestones of the business, and like I think I ended off by saying like, if you ever were considering starting, like just start now, because like you'll thank yourself 10 years later when like you have the next iteration of what you started 10 years ago. And like I think like this whole pursuit has been like a huge check mark, right? Like I could have still been sitting on that initial batch of 50, and all the shit I've learned along the way. Like I'm praying that I can, and hoping I can parlay all this experience into like the next thing, because I don't think this will be what I do for the rest of my life, nor do I think it should be. But yeah, like I ended off by saying like, if you ever want to start something, do it now, because in 10 years you'll thank yourself for whatever it leads into. And I'm like just excited of like what's to come, and just like leveraging this into the next thing that might come my way. Yeah,
because there are so many times where people go, oh, like such a good idea. I wish I did that 5 years ago, or like I wish I did that 10 years ago, and it gets to that point, and I don't want to say it's too late, but they have it in the back of their head like, oh, I could have done this 10 years ago, and then they don't do it then.
Yeah.
Right. So there's always a point where you have to start, you got to do it, and then the business is gonna, and just trusting yourself, I guess too, is the hardest part about it, right?
Yeah. It is just starting. That's like honestly like just plain and simple. That's like I think the most sound advice I can offer is like just start, and then you'll figure it out. And if shit goes south, then that's fine.
At least you tried.
At least you tried, and just like take everything you learn and just apply it to the next thing.
Yeah. So is that what also keeps you motivated? Because now that you've done this for a year, I'm sure the motivation was, you didn't, I'm sure you had motivation when you started, but after it kicked off, you're kind of like, okay, like, a couple sales are coming in and you get on that high. But now that you've been doing it for a year and it's succeeded, What keeps you motivated during the day or day to day?
That's a good question. I think like so I'll answer it in two ways. Like I think I have like a high expectation of myself and like what I can achieve. So I think like I think it's like kind of like a Michael Jordan mindset where it's like certainly not comparing myself to Michael Jordan. I'm just saying like he's like he has the highest expectation of himself, right? Like he had some inspirational and profound quote. I forget what it is, but it's more of just like he demands the most of himself over what his teammates would demand. So like he'll never fall short of that kind of thing. So like I think I have a high expectation of myself, and like I try not to let myself down. I think that's part of it. And aside from that, like, I've built this business that I'm now obligated to. Kind of feels like it's my responsibility to, keep at it. And like, yeah, I can fuck off anytime I want, but it just like, I kind of see this business as just like something that's my responsibility, and I'm just going to try and grow it as best as I can. And, but yeah, like, don't get me wrong, like, it's tough. Like, so I certainly have my days where I'm like, today's not it. And like, all of the other things that I, fill myself with, like, or fill my schedule with, like, I play basketball like as often as I can. Right now it's like 3 times a week, just to like separate myself. Yeah. And other things in the creator space. So like what's interesting is I put out a video. What was it? I put out a video and Durex Canada comment on it, like target audience reached. And I thought that, and they had like the blue check, and I thought like it was on TikTok. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then I'm like, okay, let me see if I can like double down on this. So then my sister's friend works for, or is friends with somebody who like worked at Durex, and she like, I just uploaded to Instagram. I'm like, this is like a cool moment, whatever. And she's like, oh, like I know the people at Durex. Like, do you want me to put you in touch, like for any sort of like, do you want to maybe talk to them? I was like, yeah, 100%. Long story short, it wasn't someone at Durex, but it was someone at KY Lube. Okay. And there's like it's like brother and sister company, or like they have the same parent company, or one of those kind of situations. And I got in touch with them. I was like, look, like I have a following of like 40,000 on TikTok, like this many on Instagram. Like, what about like some sort of like 3-part series where I somehow involve like KY Lube and like my boards, and like I'll do like a 3-part series video. And she's like, okay, like not a bad idea. Like, let me hear like your 3 videos ideas, and like we'll see if like the team goes for it. So like I sat down and I came up with some ideas. Mind you, it was kind of a difficult bridge to gap, like lube and like a cheese board.
Yeah, but still, it's coming up with the concepts and coming up with the ideas. But going back to it, it's you reaching out and finding those people, right? It's you and attacking those brands and saying, hey, listen, I think this could be, even if you don't have an idea. Yeah. This is an idea that I think would be good.
For sure.
Let's see if we can collaborate. Because if you didn't do that, nothing would have come of it. So
So I think like that's maybe like my like sales background is like I'm okay being on the offense and like trying to get in touch with these people and like being hungry for those opportunities. So anyways, I sent like 3 videos, and like they got approved with like some iterations, and then they sent me the lube, and I made the videos. And what was cool is like usually when you do like brand deals, it's brand to like creator, right? And you're like leveraging the creator's following, which is very much the same situation. You're still leveraging my following, but this was brand to brand.
Brand to brand, yeah.
Which I thought was like kind of like a cool arrangement to have done. So I'm like, oh, that's kind of a cool moment. And like, like I charged them for the video. Like it was all of that. It was like very cool. And then on the flip side is like the UGC stuff. So it's like not so much a company that's leveraging your following, more so like leveraging you and your ability to create. So like there's this company called Othership. Have you heard of Othership?
I don't think so.
They're making a big splash right now. It's like a mindfulness guided sauna into like a cold plunge type facility. And it's like guided meditation in the sauna. And then they like throw you right into like a cold plunge, and like there's all these health benefits both, pardon me, physical and mental.
Yeah,
and all
that's
that
big
stuff.
in like Finland and Sweden, Norway, all those.
Yeah, the Scandinavian folk. So anyways, I had a buddy that like knew like the social media manager there or whatever, and put me in touch. And initially they wanted me to do like a TikTok crash course for like their staff, who they call guides. And just like, they're trying to develop a following just like the rest of us. And that was like the initial pitch. And then like, I spoke with her and I gave her the pitch and like, I'm like, this is what I'll talk about. And she's like, okay, like that's great. But now that I'm thinking about it, like we also just need UGC. Would you be open to making some videos? And I'm like, yeah, sure. Why not? Like this is the whole thing. This is everything I mean in terms of like parlaying what all my experience and kind of everything I developed under my belt thus far into the next thing. Right. Something like I guess I didn't really mention is like content has always been like the motivation towards like the brand. Like when
For you, yeah.
Yeah, for me personally, like when I came up with the idea, I'm like, oh, think about all the hilarious content I can make around this product. So content has very much been like the driving force of the brand and like what I'm trying to aspire to personally. So when this opportunity came, we're just like, we need someone for content. I was like, yeah, for sure. So now I've done like, we're in the middle of a 2-month contract, like a trial contract where like I produce 3 pieces of content for them a month and they throw it up on their TikTok page. And like 2 of my videos are like published now. So it's cool. Like, it's just like, just saying yes to like the next thing that comes your way. And aside from that, like one of the other good aspects that provides is like just it lets you be removed from the business right now, right? Because like this is as it should be. It's like all day, every day, all consuming. It's like always top of mind, and to be able to separate from that is so nice. Is so nice. Like
yeah,
it's just
sure.
it's like you can't see the forest through the trees. Like I'm just like so in it that it's sometimes hard. Like stepping back is, will propel you that many steps forward.
Yeah, because you're having fun with it, right? Like you don't worry about what the business is. You just go back and you're having fun creating content.
Yeah.
And it's helping your business
totally
at the same time.
Because it's just like, it just like resets you. Like there's so much to say about like mindset and like frame of mind and like just like attitude. And like if, I remember like giving myself the morning to produce all this stuff for other ship. And then I came back and I felt so refreshed. I was like, okay, let's get after it. Versus if I just like woke up, cracked open my laptop and be like, okay, like what the fuck do I need to do today? Like, cause that's how a lot of days start. It's just like doing the next thing. And there's not like a sense of direction or a sense of strategy. You're just like, you're kind of like being a task rabbit a lot of the time, right? Like, I set out to do something. I'm like, oh, fuck this email. Oh, now I got to do this delivery. Oh, now this customer's like, where's my order? Like, it's all of that.
Yeah, there's a lot of plan. It's hard to plan your day.
So hard to plan. Yeah.
And I have to deal with the same thing. Like as a realtor, I'll go and I have to plan my day. Like I'll plan days, weeks in advance. And even, starting out, I have no idea what to do half the day. Mm-hmm. Right. But then you go and you start planning and like yesterday, for example, I had a whole bunch of things that I did, sending out offers, checking up on clients. And it like the day went by almost faster because I was able to plan it ahead and like have that idea of, this is what I'm going to do today. Mm-hmm. And it went by so quickly. But it's having that something planned. I feel like if you wake up, you don't have a plan for your day, it goes by so slowly.
Yeah. Yeah, which is honestly a lot of what I do, but it's also just because like I have to be kind of fluid, just because like shit does bubble up, and like if I do plan and then I don't stick to it, it's almost worse than like just fielding the shit as it comes in. Right. But I honestly think like once I can outsource a lot of this shit, that being like manufacturing and fulfillment, I'll just be able to like have way more. I'll just be able to be much more deliberate with my time and my days. So that's what I'm like really looking forward to. And yeah.
That's good. Mm-hmm. Anyway, yeah, we're actually just about at the end. So I'm going to leave you with one more question.
Yeah.
And it's just what's next for Cockuterie Boards? And I guess where can we find you as well online?
Yeah, so website, www.cockuterieboards.com. I know. How did I get that domain? Somehow it's up for grabs. Yeah, so that's like that's the main hub. And I mean like Etsy, I'm on Etsy as well. Yeah. I'm like thinking about an Amazon store. And then to answer your question, like what's next? Like, I mean, recently I launched like the Booby board. There's like so many different product expansions that I'm entertaining. I really, really like that aspect of the business. Like there's like a bunch of stuff that I'm flirting with now. But again, spread so thin. But I think like there's just like a whole whack of products I'd like to add to the store. And then like, again, just finding like manufacturing, finding like a 3PL, like third party logistics warehouse that can store the boards and like pick, pack, fulfill as the order comes in. Cause, you know, in like a hot, like in a very good, like month or whatever, like that's kind of all my time.
It's overwhelming for you.
It's so overwhelming. So yeah, that's what's next. Just to bolster a few things. Like the website's good, but it could be better. The email marketing is pretty sad, so I can be doing better. You know, just trying to develop all aspects and just kind of keep pushing the ball forward. So
all right, that's good.
So that's what's next.
Yeah, thanks Rory for coming on. That was a great conversation. It was nice, you know, getting to learn a little bit about your company and how you brought it from zero to what it is now. And I hope that, you know, in the future we can see it grow even more. So
thanks, buddy. Yeah, it was a pleasure to be here. And thanks for thinking of me.
Yeah, no, of course. It's I'm always thinking about cocks and boobies.
There you go.
So,
this is why I'm here.
It's great. Exactly. This is why I'm here. So anyway,
yeah,
thanks so much. And I guess we'll see everyone next week.
See you next week. I won't be here.
No.